Greetings, brothers and sisters. Got a few other things to get to. Demi Lovato is singing to traumatized feminist ghosts. That's worth a look-see. And Tom Brady's a little upset. So we'll get to those things. They're funny. This is also very funny. Here's the front page of the New York Post, and they really screw over a lot of, liberals. I mean, at least in terms of the paper is owned by Rupert Murdoch, but they have a good way of crapping on people, right? People, for the most part, that we don't like. And so it says here, it's complicated, which is one of Alec Baldwin's crappy movies. I think he's paired with that dude, Meryl Streep, in that one. So they have a way of, finding a crappy thing that you do in the past, a movie or something like that, making it a headline for something that is, not going your way. Like in this case, there's Alec, there's Hillaria spinning her cucumber web to this fine, outstanding New York officer. Hampton's cops pull over Alec Baldwin and Hillaria after warrant issued for his phone. And here's the actual article, and they have some sort of video of Alec and a reef here.
You need to back up, guy.
You got to back up, guy. Come on, don't get too close to my car.
Don't get too close to my car. I'm going to scratch my car. But you know.
He doesn't know. He's going to do a threat. He was going to deliver a threat. I don't like this kind of thing. I mean, people hounding you with cameras. I mean, it's just a low thing. But, Alec. I mean, come on, Alec. You brought this on yourself, bro. So Alec says, you're going to scratch my car. And, how is he going to scratch his car? What's he going to do? He's just really close to Alec taping him, which isn't cool, right? I don't approve of that behavior. But, it's Alec, right? And so Alex says, you're going to scratch my car, and if you scratch my car, and then he realizes, well, making a threat is just going to backfire on him. So I don't know what's going to happen. But, my car will be scratched, and there'll be consequences, bucko. Don't scratch my car. Hey, you, don't scratch my car. If you scratch my car, I don't know.
Are you going to cooperate with the authorities, sir?
Are you going to cooperate with the authorities? He's got a driver. That was his driver standing out there looking a little bit like Where's Waldo. Boom. Alec doesn't want to respond to this random person, which I don't blame him. It's a smart move on his part. Alec Baldwin and his wife Hillaria were pulled over by police in the Hamptons Saturday, 2 days after investigators issued a search warrant for the embattled actor's cell phone photos show. Baldwin, 63, wow, he looks like he's in his 70s, was photographed while sitting in the car with wife Hillaria, who's 37. They just want to point out the discrepancy in age here. Spoke with a cop on the side of the road before pulling out her phone and showing the screen. The yoga instructor was wearing a long green coat and white baseball cap. I don't know why that's important. But what we do know is that they're not cooperating. He could easily have turned his phone over already. And it says here he killed Hutchins without pulling the trigger. Remember that? And here he is, getting some sort of pastries, wearing his mask. There's some photos of the incident. But he's pulled over here. I guess he doesn't drive. She looks like she's either has his own driver or he has Hillaria. But, this is kind of significant. There she is, explaining, showing her cucumber pictures. That, Alec isn't handed over his cell phone without a fight, right? So whatever's going on here means that he hasn't turned the cell phone over. And there's a little glimmer of hope that Alec might be serving some jail time. We don't know. but there is, something brewing here. Something brewing with the Baldwins. Hillaria and Alec are, resisting the warrant for his cell phone. So there might be stuff on it that Alex doesn't want the law enforcement officials to see. I've thought all along this is sort of for show or some sort of humiliation thing or whatever. But there might be something brewing here. Alec might be, going to jail. Okay, so Demi Lovato sings to ghosts to help them overcome trauma caused by sexism. And one of my viewers sent me this. I guess she's got a new show. She's had some mental difficulties, post her overdose and other things.
Did you not want to say anything else because the boys were in here?
She's in a brothel where we all knew Demi Lovato was going to end up, right? For Demi, all roads lead to the brothel. The boys, they're shocked. They're getting some sort of feedback.
I think... Ooh, I get that a lot.
She's communicating with the ghosts. She gets it a lot.
Okay. She has trauma.
She does?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She has trauma. These guys, she has it? She's got trauma? That ghost has trauma. She can feel it. Look. Wow, look at these guys. A couple of rocket scientists. She's got a headband on there for some reason.
Okay. How do you know?
And that's why she doesn't like men.
Okay. I respect that. that.
You gotta respect that. That ghost doesn't like men because it's a disembodied spirit.
If I sing you a song, can my friends come back in the room?
She's talking to a ghost. She's not talking to herself. You guys, she's actually talking to a real ghost. She doesn't play around like that. There's an actual real ghost in there.
There you go.
Cool,
there you go.
cool.
Well, this guy and his headband, they get to come back in the room if Demi Lovato sings her a song. Every ghost wants to hear the angelic tunes, the angelic voice of Demi Lovato.
Cool. Well, I always sing Skyscraper when I feel like singing something.
Exactly. Every ghost is waiting for Skyscraper. Every traumatized feminist ghost is waiting to hear Skyscraper so it can heal her wounds of, her hatred for men.
Something emotional for people. Do you have to make me feel like
Boom. Delivering the Skyscraper.
from the ground like a skyscraper?
That ghost is being elevated to a higher level of consciousness by the melodic singings of Demi Lovato.
There you go. Standing ovation.
Boom. Look at him. Yay. Woo.
I think that's the okay for us to come in, yes?
That's so cool.
It's a healing moment. Demi Lovato healing one ghost at a time with the epic tune of Skyscraper.
That's the coolest. That's the coolest standing ovation I've ever had.
Yeah, it was. That ghost giving her a standing ovation. This guy's got to take his pulse. He's so excited. Boom. Look at him. It's just a miracle. You had this, hooker that used to live in this brothel, been traumatized by one man after another. And she don't like men, even in the afterworld. Even though she's a disembodied spirit. She don't like men, even though she has no sexual organs and, she's now just in spirit form. She's kept that dislike and distrust of men for, a millennia. I mean, who knows? Hundreds of years she's been stuck in this broken down, closed down old brothel, hating men. And Demi Lovato comes in with her crew, her dudes, and she sings Skyscraper, and that ghost is healed. Healed of her trauma, and she's ready to give men a second chance. Look at Demi Lovato go. This show's epic. She's healing these ghosts. All it takes is Skyscraper. This was also from New York Post. Tom Brady appears to curse out Saints coach Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, go F yourself. And Tom Brady had a bad night. Apparently he sucks against the New Orleans Saints since being with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's 0-4 with multiple interceptions. And he had an interception late in the game, which pretty much sealed it for the Saints. And this happened. And he goes by the coach, and he says this to the defensive coordinator. Tom, what's wrong? You having a bad night, buddy? Buddy, you having some trouble? What's going on, buddy? You having a bad night? Like, what's happening, Tom? Tom, it's okay, Tom. It's just football. It's just an interception, buddy. No reason to get vulgar. I cover a lot of stuff here. In terms of celebrities and, politicians and just what I call the show. And, there's a lot of self-involvement with these people and a lot of narcissism and a lot of, massive egos. But this sort of Demi Lovato thing, going back to Demi Lovato, kind of takes it to a new level. Imagine meeting a disembodied soul that you're experiencing, like she's experiencing, as being traumatized, right, in some way, which a disembodied soul that is trapped on Earth and hasn't returned to the etheric worlds is going to have some kind of problem. There are ghosts, like, whatever people think about ghosts, souls that don't make it back to where they're supposed to go. And then there's higher developed souls here doing work, right? But imagine meeting a disembodied soul, and she, in her imagination here, at a brothel, of all places, and finding it and it being traumatized, and you saying to the soul, hey, you want to hear me sing? I bet my singing will help, right? I bet you're just waiting for me to sing to you. Hey, man, if I sing to you, can my friends come in the room? Right? Think about the narcissism here, right? I bet this ghost wants me to sing to her, right? So anyways, there's this Omicron outbreak. I covered it yesterday on my other channel, apocalaughsnow, link in the description box. And there's some conflict, some discrepancy between Kamala Harris's story and Dr. Anthony Fauci's story. There's a little bit of a disagreement. I'll be covering that today over there. And things are going to go really south after Christmas. There's, the Christmas financial season. And then you're going to see sporting events close down. I believe, from my experience, that this is some other thing that is really contagious and is sweeping around. But aside from that, there's just the, whatever happens before Christmas, even on social media, like on YouTube, there's a lot of ad revenue at stake. But then, usually in January and then the preceding months, there's more censorship, there's more closing down, there's more events that happen, right? There's usually a big power grab after Christmas. People are, worn out and, just the winter starts getting to them and things. But I think you'll see a closing down of these sporting events. I mean, it just depends on, how far they think they can push it, because people are more resistant to that. But, I think there'll be an unpleasant period of time post-Christmas. It might take a week or two, but it's coming, right? And you'll see things being canceled and censorship happening and, all the rest of these things. See, there's a period of time where, if you're moving from a culture where Americans have been told you're special, the customer's always right, and, all the other things that you hear, right? Like all the ways that you're made to feel like you're important and that you matter and that they have to win you over, right? They have to appease you in some way as a block of people, a group of people, that politicians are always, making promises to you, and they're always trying to, win you over and coerce you and things like this. And all these companies doing the same thing and not wanting to upset the customer and a potential customer. And Americans having this position where they think they're valued and they matter to the beastly system and the powers that be, the politicians and the corporate, overlords and all these, other groups of people. They're always being thanked, the fans, by their celebrity worships and things like this. And when you're going from a culture like this, where you feel very entitled to your lifestyle and, your position, and they're selling you something else that you don't want, right? When they're going to, have to, tamp down your lifestyle, like lessen your lifestyle and, all of your rights and things like this. They can try to sell it to you, but it doesn't really work, right? Because, you just say, no, I don't want that, right? You just think, oh, okay, this is, you live in a world of choices where you have so many choices all the time. Like it's, people are in a perpetual state of choosing. There's a great talk by Master Chargy from the Heartfulness System where he said, and it was, I think, to an American audience, either American or European, pretty sure it's American, but it's a global thing. And he said, you have a period of choosing and then your choice is over. You make your choice and it's over. But people are in a perpetual state of choosing. You made your choice, but then you're like, I don't know if I made the right choice. Can I return this or can I get divorced, right? Whatever it is that people think, all right, choices aren't over. And that's the way you've been presented life here in America and now on a global basis where you're always making choices. And like on the internet, do I watch this? Do I, always, what your preference are and things like this. And so you're in a state of choosing constantly. And people don't stick to their choices and they, reinvent themselves and whatever it is, right? But he made the point, you make a choice about a certain subject and that's it. You live with the choice, right? But that's not how Americans are. We think that we're constantly have a host of different choices. And so when they say, all right, this is the new lifestyle you're going to have. No, I don't want that. I want what's behind door number 2, right? What's my other choice? No, you don't have another choice. This is what's happening. So Americans aren't going to cave to that. And so there's a point where they stop asking you and stop trying to win you over and they just force it on you. And this is what's been happening since really 2015. They've just been forcing an agenda, a Hollywood morality, and a lifestyle on you. And you have the older generation of people like, oh my God, I don't want that, right? I mean, you have, some boomer hippies that have always thought this was the way to go, but you have a lot of people who are rejecting it, a lot more people than, most people know, and now it's developed into the truth community and some of these other things. But the kids today growing up are just accepting it, and that's their real target audience, right? And so what you're going to see is them forcing this, where they're just going to use force, and, your position of customer, and the customer's always right, has disappeared, right? Now, they'll be closing things. I mean, just the way everything's going business-wise, and your lifestyle choices have just been severely limited. And there's a new plan, that they've been talking about for a while that nobody really wants. Nobody, no customer, no American citizen is going to sign off on this, no global citizen. I mean, some people, it'll be a step up, some of the impoverished people. But, in terms of what they're, forcing on everybody, most people don't want it, certainly in America. And they're just going to have to, force it down your throat. That's that's coming, right? Like there's other things that in the works, there's real upheavals, there's things that are outside the controller's, the controller's range and power and things. And so they know that too, but they're still going to try to force this thing through. And that's starting to happen right now. You're going to see it, more and more because Joe Biden he's done. Like he's unpopular, people are seeing him for what he is, right? The Trump haters are seeing him for what he is. And, Republicans and truthers already saw him for what he is. Kamala's unlikable. They don't have a politician that's going to inspire people. And no one's going to be inspired to take this deal. Like I said this before, the president, whether it was Joe Biden or Trump, whoever won the 2020 election was going to be in charge who profited from the America going out of business sale. I mean, like, this is what's happening right now. And Americans weren't going to like whatever happened. They weren't going to be happy with the president if it was Trump or Biden. Like, this is, inflation was coming. That was, we knew inflation was coming. I mean, if I knew it, like, I'm not some financial genius. If I know it, when I said this stuff was going to happen back in 2014, like it was inevitable, just looking at the economic numbers, then they knew, right? Like, this was an inevitability that the value of what you think you have in terms of money was going to be taken away, right? Like, your dollar is worth 50 cents. Your dollar is worth 25 cents, right? Compared to what it was when you thought, when you retired or whatever, you were amassing your wealth, right? And then all these other implications of that, what happens to the economic system because of massive inflation. And there's nothing they can do about it. Like, they can't fix it. They can't somehow make it go back to the way it was. Like, this whole stupid idea of Trump saying, make America great again. Well, first of all, it's a myopic view that America was great, at some point. But you can't go back to that period of time where the economy was completely different and based in something, where there's manufacturing and, America was on the rise. Like, you're any company, any organization, you have your heyday. You have when you are moving up, right? When you are, the future is bright. And then you peak, and America's peaked, and now we're on the decline, right? You go up to some high level, and whatever it might be, and then once that level is reached, and then there's nowhere to go but down. And that's, the global economy. And then they have to reboot it and, remake it in some way. And most people who are, have who are addicted and, have been trained to be in this system that you have now aren't going to be able to really make the switch, right? It's just going to be a lot of complaining, a lot of negativity, a lot of feeling of betrayal, and especially among the sheeple who thought they were promised something. And there's going to be a lot of promises that are going to be broken, and the government and the system is never going to take responsibility. The media for being wrong, for leading you down this path, they're never going to say, yeah, it's our fault, right? They're going to blame it on you. They'll find some group to blame it on, and they'll stick with that story, and, they're not going to hear anything from you, or they're not going to, listen to your gripes or whatever it is, right? They're just going to force feed it down your throats. I mean, that's the new model, and it's coming to a city near you, right, to a country near you, because they have no other choice. And since they don't have any other choice, you don't have a choice. It isn't like they're just doing this because they want to do it. It's because this is how the economy was going to end, right? This is how, this phase was going to play out, right? They weren't going to be able to sustain your lifestyle. It was unsustainable. And so, they've been promising for years. I mean, the whole idea, and I talked about this, there was a period of time where your ancestors, my ancestors, our ancestors, were lured off the farm, lured out of the tribes, lured out of the villages, and told, instead of, being a homesteader, instead of, working in a community, in a tribal, in a village-based community, give up all those skills and we'll take care of you. You just need one skill. You work, whatever it was back then, 10, 12 hours a day. Now it's 8 hours a day. You will do this one job. You perform this one task for the system, and we'll give you this, money stuff, right? We'll give you the ability to purchase everything else. So you have to have one skill instead of being a multifaceted farmer and homesteader with lots of different skills, lots of different ways of survival in a community that helps each other survive, a localized community. You're not going to know your neighbors. You're not going to care about your neighbors. Your neighbors are, people you might wave to or not, talk to in the elevator or whatever, and on the cul-de-sac when you pull out, in the morning to go to work or whatever, But you're not going to have a community. Like, your neighbors will just be people you are acquainted with, and sometimes not even that. Instead of being people that, work together in a localized system to, feed and support each other and all these things. And so instead of that, you now have all this money and you can just go to places and buy it. You don't need to even have a relationship with your local store owners. You don't have to, engage with them. You could actually now do it, and even more so, now you can just do it at home. You just go on the internet. You don't have to interact with a person at all. Purchase your whatever it is, and it'll be delivered to you. And now you don't even have to have a, relationship with, on any level. You don't have to interact with a person on any level. You don't have to go to a store. You can do it from your own home, privacy of your own home. And so it's like a total disconnect from, what was originally a tribal and a village-based. I mean, this is how people are supposed to live in a big family unit. And you don't even need to be connected to your own family. In fact, you guys can all be in the same house and have different social interactions on, the internet. I mean, that's how far it's come. And the promise that was made by, the powers that be to your ancestors to lure them off the farm. A lot of them willingly went to the cities, right, to lure them off the rural-based, family-based, village-based, tribal-based system, was that the system would always be there. The system is strong, and you're not going to need those skills. You're not going to need your, localized survival system. You're not even going to need your family. And that promise has been made over and over again in different ways to each generation. The system's always strong. The economy's always going to be here. You can be 100% dependent on it. We'll take care of you. And now they're like, yeah, that wasn't true. That was a lie. I mean, they're not even saying it. They're saying it without saying it. And so now that that's happening, this promise that couldn't be fulfilled, it was an unsustainable promise. You have a bunch of just weak, sheepalized people with one or two skills, a few different skills, your job, your ability to cook and, whatever it is. I mean, the way, whatever your skill set is, and your skill set is predicated on the system always being there for you. Like your ability to survive is predicated on the system not collapsing. They're like, yeah, well, the system, it's not sustainable, right? And we can give you a worse deal, and you're going to be even more of a sheeple, and you're going to live in a smaller little box, right? This Agenda 31. You're not going to own anything, this idea of home ownership and, all these things. And you're just going to be, you got to be a lot stupider than you are. Like if you're smart and you have critical thinking skills, the system isn't going to work for you. But that system itself is going to collapse. Like it's not even going to, manifest, because before that even happens, like things are going to start getting reals in terms of global upheavals and all these things that happen, right? We're in a transitionary period of time. One yuga is ending and one phase is ending, another one's opening up. There is, divine beings that want human beings to jump a level. Like, the powers that be want you to be stupider. And the divine beings that oversee this planet and are moving, people in a spiritual evolutionary direction want to see a society full of higher developed saints. And one of these two, futures is there, right? You can either go down to a, brute level, like, 70 IQ level. I mean, just de-evolve into something that's completely less than human beings of today, or you can rise up to a more saintly level, like the heartfulness system I'm talking about all the time, that helps people to connect to God and have an internalized relationship with God. I mean, that's where we are right now. It's like a choice point. And, when you look at what's going on in the world, you think, well, people are going to choose wrongly. But people are having internal experiences, and we're not seeing that, right? We're not seeing what's going on inside of people. People are awakening on a spiritual level, on various levels, and are craving something more. And, the media isn't covering it. That's not part of the show. And so that's happening inside of people. But what we see, when we turn into the news media, the internet, it's just people behaving badly, which is happening, but both things are going on. And that's why I say only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Lovato, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.